I want to show you how I cut border stripes. They're running length of fabric and have to be fussy cut on a pattern. So first I lay it out so it's single layer. I don't do double layer because we need to make sure we're cutting straight. So we lay it out flat. So I need 4 borders. I get 4 repeats across. They need to be 6.5 inches in this case. So how do we do this? Now this border doesn't have any hard and fast lines to cut and measure against. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find a center motif to go on my 3¼ inch line, because it's 6.5 inch wide, 3¼ at the center. It's just above the center of this light blue flower in the repeat. So it's there and it's there. Sometimes you can find something really obvious, sometimes it's something kind of subtle. So what I do is I go ahead and I'm cutting the right side of my strip, but I'm not going to pull and cut individually. I'm going to flip this out of the way, and then I'm going to come over here and cut the next one. Okay. And I mean, this, because it doesn't have a hard line, it's also very organic, so it doesn't matter if I'm a little off because of the way this stripe is printed. If you had a hard line to use, you could be more accurate. Then I slide it down, and I continue to cut 2 strips at a time. That's a little, so you don't have to handle the fabric as much. It makes it a little bit easier to get it cut. So again, 3¼ I see it, and I cut, and I flip, and I slide this one over. And again, we're just cutting. And then we'll flip it over, and then we'll use the edge of the fabric. So let me show you that. I flip this around, pull it straight across the board, and we'll straighten this one out so we can cut them again 2 at a time. It just, again, this little extra arranging makes you cut it twice as fast, which is quite nice. Alright, so now we're going to just use the 6.5 on the edge, and we just cut our strip. And that's how you can cut border strips quickly and easily. And there we go. So next time you have to cut a border stripe, I hope this helps. Alright, so we have our 2 borders sewn on. We have our outer border sewn on, and the outer border is going to have the corners mitered. So to figure out how much fabric you need, I figure out, because it's the outer border, I take the overall size of the quilt and I add 4 inches to give myself a little excess out here so I don't accidentally trim off. To sew the outer border on, you're going to center it on your quilt and pin it in place. And then you're going to sew with the quilt top on top and the border on bottom, because it's easier, so you can stop and start a 1/4 inch from each corner. Okay? And the 1/4 inch goes for all 4 sides. So you can sew all 4 sides on. Don't press anything at this point. Now we need to miter our corners. So the first thing you need to do is take your quilt top, and you're going to fold it in half diagonally, wrong sides together. So you see I'm doing that. And with these borders folded, this one's still pinned. With the borders, what that will do is let the borders lay out flat and straight on the table. Okay? You want to make sure it's laying nice and flat. And if you look, if you stopped and started at a 1/4 inch on both sides, it should be at the exact same point there. If it's a little off and you have just a little space, you'll be fine. But the bigger the space, the more likely you'll have a pleat. Now we need to mark our miter on here. So you take a ruler that has a 45-degree line, and you lay the 45-degree line even with the border edge, and you take the ruler edge and you put it on that point. So that's where my stitching stopped, right there. 45-degree line is there. That means the line I'm drawing from that point to that point will be 45 degrees. So you just take a fabric, don't use a permanent pen, use a fabric pen that will iron out, and mark your line. Okay? Then once you've marked that line, I usually will pin this so everything stays straight while I move it to the sewing machine. And I'm going to sew on that 45-degree line, starting at the needle point and going out. Alright, so now I've sewn from point to end. Take my pins out, and now you can check to see what your miter looks like. And if it lays flat and there's no pleat there, then you can trim the excess fabric away, leaving a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you can use scissors or rotary cutter, whatever you've got that will cut it. Okay, so that's gone. Now we have our miter, and I will press out, and I'll press that to one side. And that's one miter. So we just need to do that on the other 4 corners, and it'll be ready for quilting. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, make sure you like and subscribe below. You can find the Whimsical Workshop on our website, thewhimsicalworkshop.com, and that has all links to all of our other social media platforms. Thanks for joining us.